Jordan Radio Show. The date is October 1st, 2015, and it is a tragic day indeed. We'll get to that in 1 second. Today on the show, we'll be discussing the UCC shooting that took place earlier today. We'll touch on George Zimerman as he took to Twitter and did some crazy stuff. The latest on a Paul Walker lawsuit, Caitlyn Jenner, and much, much more. Today we're honored and privileged to be joined with an attorney out of Seattle. She makes her return. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a veteran attorney from out of Seattle, like I said, the one and only Ann Bremner. Good evening, Ann, and welcome back to the King Jordan Radio Show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Awesome.
Good.
Thanks for coming aboard.
My
also
pleasure.
joining us today. Yes, Ann? Also joining us today is Joseph Scott Morgan, who was at CNN today covering the ongoing events of the evening. Good evening, Joseph. How are you?
I've had better days, Jordan. I've had better days. But it's good to be with you guys.
Absolutely. And, Joseph, let me start with you because we did speak earlier. And what is the latest of the shooting as you know it, because you have been covering it for CNN and other outlets?
Yeah, I'd be remiss to say that I was actually covering it. I happened to be in one of those odd moments in life that, I guess the people when you're in the public and you're in this, and you're working. The first time I've really ever experienced it where I was physically present in the studio and you're sitting there and just so the audience understands, you're sitting there in this very quiet space and you have this monitor in your ear and suddenly they break in and they say that there's breaking news. And I was there with Nancy Grace and, you suddenly find out that there's just been a slaughter at a college. And it impacted me in that moment. Objectivity kind of goes out the door, and you begin to reflect on your own students. I'm a college professor now, and you begin to reflect on your children. Which I have children that are in college, and you reflect about the state that our nation and our world is in. And I'm sorry to wax so melancholy, but it was a markedly impactful day for me, you could, I could physically, feel the blood rush to my head. It was, it was not like it was when I was on the streets working as an investigator. This is something, you have no control over really. You're just kind of sitting there and you're about to render opinions on things that are impacting people's lives in the now all over the world. That listening to what you have to say, and you really, really hope that you're going to say the right thing. So I'm very sorry to digress there, and I apologize. What apparently the report is coming out right now that the shooter apparently has made comment. This has come out in the Post, New York Post, asking. He was asking people that were knelt before him. It's been alleged that what their faith was, and if they stated that they were Christian, he shot them in the head. And if they said nothing or responded in some other kind of faith, he would shoot them in the legs. And I'm sure that that needs to be further confirmed. But I think that if that's the case, that that's quite chilling. Not that it wouldn't be chilling in any other case, but it's very, very chilling. It's just one more thing that we have to hang in our seemingly endless rogues gallery that we're exposed to. Right now, I'm just kind of actually my family and I went to mass this evening, and I've just gotten home and just kind of recouping from today's events right now, and just kind of let myself settle in a little bit. So it's good to be with you guys. Good to be with you guys and be able to talk about this a little bit.
Oh, no question, and I feel your pain, and I tell you, it just goes by. A couple weeks ago, we had a tragedy, and it just went. What is it going to take for the gun laws to be better? I mean, people have the right to bear arms. I get that, but the wrong people keep ending up with guns in their possessions, and we must figure out a way to have that stopped immediately, because if we could count the last couple of years of how many shootings there were by people that shouldn't have had guns, we would have a lot more lives.
Well, yeah, and I think what Joseph said very eloquently is, exactly right. It's just a horrible, situation that touches us all. I mean, I live up here in the Northwest, of course, and I'm down in Oregon all the time. I was just down there for my niece's wedding a couple of days ago, and I have a place down there too. And so, it's so close to home. And the shooter had posted somewhere on the web, if you go to school in the Northwest, don't go to school tomorrow. And then other people had commented, I mean, this is really chilling, well, if you're going to do a shooting, like stand in the corner of the classroom, and all these different suggestions to him, on how to conduct the shooting. So, he had talked about it before, and I've heard various quotes of the number of school shootings we've had since Newton and Adam Lanza, but some, in the hundreds, or at least over 100. And I think I said last time when we had this discussion, I believe in total gun control. I'm a ceasefire person. And because we talk about not allowing people to be armed that may have mental disturbances, but that's all protected by HIPAA largely. You don't know that. And so there's just not a solution, in that part of the equation. I think the right to bear arms in the Second Amendment, it's always been dealing in terms of a militia, which we don't have anymore. I mean, that's the way I see it. The Supreme Court sees it otherwise. But I think we've got to look at countries like the UK that don't have guns and they don't have these tragedies. Right. And I finally, like to say that I think these are escalating. I mean, I think they're scarily escalating. I mean, we see more and more and more of these types of shootings. And when I heard it on the radio this morning, in my car, I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, not another one. And we've had a number of them up here in the Northwest. We've had them all over the country. We've had them in Charleston. We've had them here in Seattle, now in Oregon a number of times, but all over the country. And you look at Jared Loeffner, you look at Adam Lanza, you look at James Holmes in Colorado, and now this shooter, right. And it just seems to be escalating.
And let's face it, I mean, if these people didn't have guns, I mean, there wouldn't be the amount of killings. Yes, they could do violence to people, but without a gun, Joseph, there is no way that you could tell me with a straight face that this person could get away with this type of crime without a gun. I mean, yes, there's other ways to hurt people and endanger people and things like that, but without that gun, this shooter is not going to be so successful as he was in his mind, of course, as he was today.
Right.
Agree or disagree?
Yeah, he would not have been as successful, and he from the way I understand it right now, and it doesn't take much understanding. It's important for I think the myth that Hollywood has perpetrated for many people in the public. You see things on television and shows and whatnot, and they portray what we do in forensics as being this great magic, and it's really basic common sense. And you know, what he had turned out to be essentially a turkey shoot, where you've got people contained in a very small space. And I know nothing about the weapons at this point. I don't know the volume of ammunition he had with him, capabilities, firepower, this sort of thing. But he opened up in a room, and I teach in a college, so I understand this, and a lot of our audience can identify. It's just like a public school room. There's one point of egress, and you got to get past that point in order to get out. And he had these people contained. At first, the first reports that came out said that he had gone room to room, but I don't think that it had been confirmed at that point in time. Mm-hmm. They thought that they had another active shooter or someone hiding in a car. That is, I'm assuming that they would have given all clear by now. It's hard to say, but and I was thinking about something just a moment ago, and this is kind of a morbid curiosity. If I'm correct, I think the first time you and I were ever on the air together was actually at least the day after or the day of the Charleston shooting, wasn't it?
I think that's accurate. The Charleston shooting was back in summer, I believe, right?
Yeah.
June, I think.
Yeah. Was it June?
Right.
I think it was. I think that that was the first time you and I were ever on the air together. It may have been the first time I was ever on Jordan's show.
Wow.
And yeah, no, isn't that you know, I don't know. But
so what are you saying? You were on the show with Ann and myself that day?
Yeah, it was Ann. Ann and I were on together. As a matter of fact, I think Ann had just, if I remember correctly, she had mentioned she had recently been to Charleston or
that's right.
Something
and
at that
that's
point
right.
in time,
That's, and I've been back since, and I'm going back next week to give a speech.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I remember that distinctly.
Yeah.
We were both upset then, you know, about that.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Here we are, you know, y'all are brighter than I. 4 months later, and we're, you know, the proverbial dog chasing its tail, and keep coming back to the same point, don't we?
Yes.
That's the way it always kind of shakes out in these events.
June 17th was the date.
Okay. Yeah.
June 17th.
And
the
Charleston shooting.
If you were president or if you had some power, what kind of changes would you make in terms of gun laws to try to at least minimize this to some degree, if you had some power?
You know, I'm really draconian. I mean, I would be looking at amending the Constitution. If the Supreme Court thinks that the Second Amendment gives you a right to individual gun ownership, you know, absent some of the language that's in it, it's the only amendment that's got a preamble and a comma talking about a militia. It seems to me, you know, that we have just, you know, had such a gun lobby. We always talk about that, but we've got such, you know, a loud roar against those of us that say, what about, you know, the pursuit of happiness? What about a right to life? You know, the right to bear arms has become, you know, overwhelmingly problematic, and it's put people in these kinds of positions where they can engage in mass shootings. And some of them are mentally ill. Probably all of them are. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is you're never going to be able to go and say, you know, this person's mentally ill. I think 1 in 4 people have mental illness. So that tells you something. And the second thing is, and we can't detect it. We don't know because we can't look at their records. They're protected. So you can't say, oh, if you've been, you know, diagnosed with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or whatever, that you can't have a gun because we don't know. So that's not the answer. You know, we have to do something drastic. And I'm so surprised that we didn't do anything after Adam Lanza's shootings of all those little kids in a grade school. I mean, really. I mean, that should have been it.
Audience, about that Adam Lanza shooting, so our audience knows what you're talking about.
Well, that was the shooting in Newton of the grade school. This was a young man who lived with his mother, and he killed his mother, and then he drove over to a grade school and shot little kids and then killed himself. And he'd had lifelong psychiatric problems. His mom had taken him to shooting ranges. He had guns, and it was a horrific tragedy. I mean, these little kids, you know, hiding, being killed by this person, and they, I think they were told that he was like an animal or a monster by the teachers, to get away from him, because they couldn't even like tell the kids this is a person shooting you, killing your classmates.
Oh, horrendous indeed. And wow, we had that one, like you said, the James Holmes one. We had the one that was done on social media. Even though it was two people, that's two people too many, in my opinion.
we had the one.
Take away a gun out of that equation. How is that man on live TV? What is he going to do? Come with a sledgehammer? I mean, pandemonium will break loose with the gun.
Right.
A few shots and that's it. Everybody's gone.
And we even had we had a student.
Can't get some people that will stick to their guns, no pun intended. That gun laws, and they won't budge. It's just like this lady with the law of Kim Davis. She won't budge. They're just sticking, with change. Sometimes you have to have change, and without a gun, it's very ABC 1, 2, 3. To me, I mean, look, without that gun, these crimes aren't going to happen.
And we had a student up here almost exactly a year ago, Jalen Freiberg. He was 15. He got a gun from his dad's car and killed all of his friends at lunchtime at the lunch table and killed himself. I think he killed 5. There were 5 dead. Never figured that one out either. Why he did it.
Wow, right.
Oh,
and that's the other thing. You could have somebody who's...
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I speak to colleagues that work in Europe, and trust me, I'm no fan of Europe. It's an interesting place. I don't agree with the way things are necessarily handled there. As a matter of fact, it's a tough place to live now. But they look at me professionally, as if I'm some wellspring of knowledge because I've been around so much violence, here. And I think and that could be said by a lot of people that work or have worked in particularly violent areas. I've known people in my field that have worked in smaller offices, have wound up going to large metropolitan areas where they're, I hate to use the term, but they're swimming in blood, and you can only work in those environments for a very limited amount of time doing what I did for a living, and you have to get out. Some people just want to say they did it in a huge metropolitan area, but after a period of time, you can only see so much. And, when Europeans, I'll engage Europeans in conversation relative to death investigation, this sort of thing. And the one thing they want to know is about, how you deal with this volume, this volume, because to them, through their worldview, when they see it, the lens that they look at it, this is literally like almost in their view. I've talked to a couple of people who have compared it to like a civil war. If you can imagine that, because and obviously the numbers are not as high as our American Civil War. Where we would have thousands of dead in one day, but still it's a steady stream. I saw a picture the other day out of Great Britain, and I found it kind of quaint, actually. They had a knife turn-in program, because right now they've got a terrible, where people in certain areas are being stabbed in London and this sort of thing. And I looked at it, and in my American way, I kind of thought, how quaint is that? They're turning in sharp objects, and I think, that's the least of our problems at this point, and points kind of made, today.
And there's only one coroner in the area, and so they've got tremendous volume just from this case.
Yeah, they do. This this comes in to the point where what we refer to as, some people, I've teach mass fatality classes many times, and responding to mass fatalities and this sort of thing. And mass fatality is relative to the area in which you dwell. You can go to some places like maybe Chicago and Cook County. Let's say Cook County and not Chicago itself, because there's more to Cook County than just Chicago. But the whole of Chicago, the whole of Cook County, to have 10 homicides in one night there for all of Cook County is really not a big deal. It's sad, but they can handle that volume. I'm talking about from a practical standpoint.
Right.
You go to a little place like Roseburg, and this is a tsunami. When you talk about what they're going to have to deal with, and I think the last count that I had, the number of dead right now, the police are saying 10. It's really, I'm still really unclear as to how many total wounded that we have and what their level of injury is, and I'm kind of waiting to see that number pop up here. I don't know if Jordan has his finger on that number right now or not, but and if it taxes the system with bodies, can you imagine the volume of evidence that's involved in this case? Because each one of these is a separate count of homicide, and the shooter might in fact be deceased, but they still haven't identified this person. You don't know if there are other peripherals involved in this, and if there are, that means that you've got a crime that's still got to be prosecuted. This is an active crime scene, and it has to be treated as such. So it strains everything. It strains the entire system, and you get up there to this beautiful area. I love it.
I too.
But it is isolated. There is none. They got a pipe in sunshine, and it's isolated, and they just don't have a lot of resources. I would imagine the feds and probably maybe even a DMORT team will be called in, which is a disaster mortuary response team that the feds put together. That they might respond. They have all the tools. They can have portable morgues where they can do autopsies in the field and all that sort of thing, and do X-rays and all that. But because these are homicide victims, and every one of them, under most state laws, by law, have to be autopsied. So families are going to have to endure that, and then they're going to have to, before that, they're going to have to go through the process of identification, because if, the tendency is that, females don't generally carry wallets. You're not going to have a visual ID to be made immediately. There might be scientific ID. I don't know what the extent of the injuries are. We're talking about head trauma. This is going to be going on for several days, and we hear about it in the news and all these sorts of things, and people don't really realize what's going on behind the scenes. And there's a whole process that you have to go through. And let's not forget who this is impacting the most: the families. What are you going to do with them? Now you've got an entire group of tertiary victims that are going to have, desperately cared for, that are going to need folks to put their arms around them and watch after them and make sure, that, these, for most of these people, this is their child that has been slaughtered. What are you going to do for these people? Well, there's not enough government programs in the world to replace a child. So this is the scope of this thing. We talk about these things when they come up in the news, and, we'll sit around the water cooler and talk about them, but until you've been through one and worked it, you don't really understand how it just kind of cavitates an entire area. It's abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal.
Totally agree. We do have a caller, one of our loyal listeners. I think she wants to talk about the shooting. Let's go out to Mary Wainwright. She is calling from Virginia, I believe. Hi, Mary.
Hi. How's everyone?
Hey, Mary.
Hi.
Well,
Hi.
As a citizen here, I do believe that it's getting to the point that there has to be some gun control, because even though they say guns don't kill, but people do. But guns are killing people in the arms of the wrong people, either because they're criminals or because they're mentally ill, or because even how many children die as a result of accidental shootings with guns in the home, and no one is attending to that. We have tons of children and teenagers that end up shooting each other accidentally or on purpose. I live near Washington, D.C., and today, in addition to the normal headlines every day of all the killings overnight, we had one kid, a teenager, who decided to shoot another teenager in a school. And that didn't make the national news because it was overtaken by the other one in Oregon. And also because it's almost every day that there's a shooting in school. So the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms as an individual, needs to be addressed, because I think that when the Founding Fathers, gave that right, we were in a different kind of world.
Right.
And we were defending our community, our homes. We were farmers and ranchers, and we were out in the frontier, and so everything was different. So that's my opinion.
That's excellent. And when you look at the First Amendment, like the right to free speech, we can still put qualifications on that. Like you can't yell fire in a theater. You can't threaten to kill somebody. Why do we have the Second Amendment is completely absolute? And it was from a throwback time when it was necessary. But you think your comments are excellent. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And Mary, thank you for the call. Appreciate that. Such a tragic day indeed.
It's horrible. It's even hard to just. I've spent all day, like Joseph was saying. I mean, I've just spent all day kind of in a daze. Like, I can't believe it. It's happening again and again and again, and it's here in our community in the Northwest. But everyone in the country has had some experience with this, because it's becoming an everyday occurrence, like Mary said. At least shootings, and then the mass shootings are escalating.
Right, and the mass shootings are getting more coverage, obviously, but shootings are happening every single day, every single hour, I'm sure. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I could bet you damn sure that there's a shooting going on as we speak somewhere in the U.S. So I would take a page out of the U.K. and have uncontrolled the way they have it. That's just my opinion.
Well, and even their police don't carry weapons.
Yeah, police don't carry weapons, right?
Is that right, Joseph? I don't think they carry weapons. The Bobbies don't carry weapons.
They have what's referred to as an armory car. At least that's the way it used to be, where if an officer is responding to a call that requires that kind of escalation of force, the armory car, goes to that location, and the weapons truck shows up, and they deploy weapons from that.
But they're not walking around with a sidearm.
No, they're not. And
like our officers have to. But
yeah, our officers are. But even now, at this point, our officers, to a great degree, are outmatched.
No question.
In many instances.
I defend police. I've defended police officers for decades in my practice after being a prosecutor. But that's a great statement. It's true. They're often outmatched. In fact, most of the time.
Yeah, they are. If you're a police officer out there and you're meeting the force of a high velocity weapon such as .223 round, same as 5.56 or 7.62 round, and essentially all you have is a 9mm pistol, which by and large is what's most common that you'll see police officers carry that, and 40 caliber, maybe 45. It's really no match because you first off the perpetrator is not intimidated. They have superior firepower, and the cop is. I mean, it's human nature to be intimidated, and many times in an interesting kind of twist. I think many police shootings that maybe I'm stating the obvious. I guess everybody understands it. Police are arriving, at a scene with little fear in their gut. They have no idea what they're going to be facing.
Right.
When
True.
they come into a dangerous situation, and it gives you pause to, well, maybe I need to, escalate force before it's deemed necessary, And
right.
so it's just because they have this gut feeling and suspicion. I know that's not necessarily the case in every instance, but it does give you, I think it gives a thinking person, time to pause and think about that sort of thing and consider it.
Absolutely. We have another caller. Let's go out to Anaheim. 714, you're on the phone with Ann Bremner, King Jordan, and Joseph Scott. Question or thought?
Hi.
Hi. What's your name, please?
Actually, it's Huntington Beach. Oh, I have someone else on the line? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anaheim.
No. It's okay. You could talk.
Oh,
Just
okay.
Tell me your name and where you're calling from.
It's Sarah Kardashian from Huntington Beach.
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey,
Hi,
Sarah.
everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Ann. I think I'm at the limit where I realize that there has to be something done about guns. I really do. But it's almost as if it starts with a little fever, and now I'm burning up. And I'm just thinking that we all need to carry a gun. I never thought that before, never. But I think about all the times that we hear about. I mean, it's every week or every other week, and so many people are killed. If one person had a gun, maybe more lives could be saved. Just maybe.
And
I hear you on that, Sarah, and I think
it's an interesting premise because I got to tell you, many people, we do exist. We do exist in kind of a prison of our own making now, and it's you're in a position now, and I'll be very brief, where if laws were enacted to take away weapons, there would be a violent firestorm, I think. It has to be. I think that it's going to have to be kind of a measured reduction or something like that, because people are terrified. I mean, they're terrified because the streets flooded with weapons. I mean, if you could see some things I've seen, they are absolutely flooded, and you can't. You're not going to be able to sit back and kind of, wish people well, and hopefully rely on their humanity, their good nature to not kill you.
And it almost is. It's almost as if it can't be one way or the other. I mean, I know I'm naive in thinking there must be a middle ground. A couple years ago, a hair salon that I would go to, I didn't go that day, and some husband went in there to kill his wife, and he ended up shooting many people. And
I think I remember that case. Yeah.
Yeah, in Seal Beach. Mm-hmm. And if one person had a gun, if the salon owner had a gun, I'm thinking maybe. But I know it's so different when somebody storms into a school and then you say to yourself, well, how could we avoid that? I mean, it's incomprehensible how to solve this problem. But the only reason I'm calling in is because I'm so torn, and I appreciate everyone's opinion, and I'll let everybody go so everybody else can talk. But great talking to everyone.
Great point.
Oh,
Thank
Joseph. Oh, and I have to give a plug to Joseph's book. It's absolutely wonderful.
Oh, wonderful.
Absolutely wonderful. And Anne, I follow you. I do follow you.
Oh, thank you.
I know, but I know that you defend people, and I know you have to do that, but I do like it when the prosecutor in you comes out. I really, really do.
Oh, thank you. It's still here in me.
And King Jordan, what can I say? Love you, love you, love you.
He's wonderful. And you're wonderful.
Love
Thank
you more.
All right, good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Okay. Let's move to another topic. Speaking of guns, George Zimerman up to some nonsense. Let's hear this clip, and we'll talk about it.
I was born a donkey. It's the donkey of the day.
For the donkey of the day. That's pretty fun. Charlemagne the devil.
Possibly. The Breakfast Club.
Yes, donkey of the day for Tuesday, September 29th is actually more than a donkey. He's the epitome of a devil walking amongst us in human form. The bastard known as George Zimerman. Now, since killing Trayvon Martin in cold blood in 2012 and beating that case, he's had numerous run-ins with the law, once in 2013 when he threatened his wife with a gun and punched her father in the face. Another time in 2013, Zimmerman's girlfriend called the police when she asked him to leave, and he wouldn't. He actually pointed a shotgun at her and then barricaded himself inside the apartment before police arrested him. He was also arrested this year when he was arrested by Lake Mary police and charged with aggravated assault with a weapon after allegedly throwing a wine bottle at his girlfriend. Not to mention, also this year, he allegedly followed and threatened a man by waving his gun at him in a road rage incident. Allegedly waving his gun at him in a road rage incident. Fortunately, that man, Matthew Apperson, I think you pronounced his last name, had a pistol and shot at George Zimerman. Unfortunately, he didn't hit him. I'm saying all this to say George Zimerman is a piece of pig feces, and every juror who let that son of a bitch walk should be ashamed of themselves, okay? You let people paint young 17-year-old Trayvon Martin as a thug when in actuality you let the real thug walk. And he's still out there thugging. Not just thugging, but gloating about the fact that he indeed got away with murder. See, George Zimerman is on social media, ladies and gentlemen. I don't follow him. Why would I? His profile pic is the Confederate flag. Says a lot about him and that bum-ass flag. And a couple of days ago on his Twitter account, some racist scum tweeted out a picture of Trayvon Martin's corpse with the caption, Z-Man is a one-man army. Well, George Zimerman retweeted that picture. Now, if you're not familiar with Twitter, RT is a cosign. When you retweet someone, unless you say otherwise, when you RT them, you are essentially agreeing with whatever they tweeted. George Zimerman and this other racist bastard are posting pics of Trayvon Martin's corpse on social media like young Trayvon was Cecil the Lion. Okay, only difference is society seemed to actually care when Cecil the Lion was killed. Now, the picture of Trayvon was up for a couple of days before Twitter removed it, and George Zimerman posted a pic of him on the beach, smoking a cigar with the caption, as much as I love owning all you trolls, I have to work on my tan. Tell Karma she's worthless. God protects me. Okay? I can't wait until I can get on this radio and announce to the world that George Zimerman is dead. Okay? I can't wait until I can get on this radio and say, drop when the clues bombs. George Zimerman is on his way to hell as we speak. Let me tell you something. Karma is not worthless, okay? I know you would like to think that, George Zimerman, because you don't want yours to come back to you, but it will. And I can't wait. People who create their own drama deserve their own karma, and every single ounce of drama you have created, you brought upon yourself. And I can't wait until karma comes back to you in the form of a slow, painful death followed by a lifetime in hell. I don't even really believe in hell. Don't even know if it exists. But for your sake, I hope it does. Give George Zimerman the biggest hee-haw, please.
A disgusting human being, and I never wish death on anyone, but I will not be bothered when that happens to him.
Yeah, I'm not wishing death on him. I'm just saying that, if I can't wait till I can announce.
I never even feel like that. Like, I hope he dies. But when that happens, I will be hashtag unbothered.
He's a disgusting individual.
I've never wished death on anybody, but, I can see why somebody would. Certain things happen to certain people.
The Breakfast Club.
And Bremner, let me go to you first. George Zimerman doing so many bad things, and we talked about karma a lot here on this show, and I do agree karma will come back to him. What do you think of his latest antic?
Well, I think I've said before, there's only three things in life that are certain: death, taxes, and karma. I mean, look at O.J. Simpson. He got away with murder, but now he's in prison on on a really stupid case, and he's probably in there for the rest of his life. But and that was karma. But yeah, I mean, there's got to be karma for him. I mean, what he's done is just, horrific. I think he's going to try and say he's got so many haters that he's kind of responding to that. I don't even know what his rationale would be for what he's done. I mean, if anything, it cements and puts a period at the end of the sentence for many people that thought he was guilty in the first instance, like we just heard, and should, serve his time in hell.
Yeah, I mean, if you're George Zimmerman, you want to stay away from I mean, you don't want to do anything to, people are mad at him as we speak, and,
right.
The evidence didn't look so great that was against him in terms of what the prosecution put forward. But a lot of people still were outraged because of the situation that it was that happened to Trayvon, and circumstances that it did happen. For this guy to keep doing what he's doing, as we heard in the clip, threatening his girlfriend with a gun. I mean, he's doing things that will find karma. And Joseph, what's your thoughts on Mr. Zimerman?
I'm surprised. I'm surprised he has not been. Well, let's go back to O.J. Simpson real quick, just to draw this analogy. Talking about karma, I love the way the criminal justice system came back around relative to the decision that was made in Clark County in Nevada relative to to Simpson. Zimerman has, at least brushed up against the justice system since the Martin case. All right. I'm thinking that he's going to brush up at exactly the wrong time and with the wrong jurist, and he's, his time will come, and God help him if he winds up in a penal institution. He will have to be in some kind of special segregated area, because one or two things await him. Death awaits us all, obviously, no matter who we are. But I think his other option is going to be housed in some state-run facility very shortly because of this behavior. It just continues, and he flies in the face of all that's reasonable. If they still used madhouses, he would be in the madhouse. He's got some serious issues, but we don't use those anymore apparently, and he's prime number one example why we need. He's off his nut, as they say, and he's going to pay. He will pay.
And Ann, you want to weigh in?
Well, I mean, I do think that he's somebody that tempts fate, like O.J. Simpson did, and like Joseph said, he brushes up against the justice system, often, and at some point he'll have karma, and that's what happened to O.J. Simpson. Don't forget, O.J. Simpson was getting his own property back in Las Vegas. That he was trying to get his stuff back, some of his memorabilia, but that's not a defense in Nevada. Getting your own property back is not a defense. So he goes in, it's a takedown robbery, he testifies that he's like in front of the bad guys with the guns, so he doesn't even know they've got guns, and so he's not guilty of any of this. Well, he went down on everything, including kidnapping, robbery, armed robbery, you name it. I went to that trial. I was there. I know Court TV was there. I was there, and he looked totally confident, like he owned the world. And then karma hit him. It was a stupid case, stupid thing he did, and he's got, a 33-year to life sentence that's indeterminate, and he's doing hard time. That's karma.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Because, it's no joke. That is as close to hell on earth as there is, I think.
Yeah.
It really is. The prisons are just unbelievable. Yeah, it is. That is pure karma.
They had a special on with the hidden tapes. I don't know if any of you
guys saw. I saw it last night. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Did you?
And one of the things is that he said he never would wear those damn effing shoes.
Bruno Mali shoes, right.
Right. And then
ugly
they
ass,
found
he said.
ugly ass shoes, right? And that's exactly what he said. I would never be caught wearing those ugly ass shoes. And they found so many pictures of him wearing those ugly ass shoes, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, he's pride comes before the fall for that guy.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, let's touch on Caitlyn Jenner. Let's hear some sound, and we'll talk on the other side.
Caitlyn Jenner will not be charged in the February car crash that left one woman dead. The Los Angeles District Attorney made the announcement Wednesday, saying Jenner was not violating any laws, noting she was not going over the speed limit. That's something Jenner reiterated earlier this month.
I was under the speed limit. I was doing 46 and a 50. My airbag didn't even go off.
The reality star's attorney gave this statement to ET Wednesday. We are heartened the district attorney has agreed that even a misdemeanor charge would be inappropriate. A traffic accident, however devastating and heartbreaking when a life is lost, is not necessarily a criminal matter. The Malibu crash left 69-year-old Kimberly Howe dead and others injured. After the accident, Jenner said she would, quote, cooperate in every way possible. In May, Howe's stepchildren filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the reality star. That case is ongoing.
All right, Joseph, I know you were concentrating on this case for a while. What's your take on this, the prosecution not going forward with charges against Jenner?
Obviously, I'm sure that they have evidence that indicates that Jenner is not responsible for what occurred. If that's the case, then so be it. And I certainly hope that that their decision is not made based on really all I have to say about the case. That's really all I have to say.
So say you, Ann?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that Jenner basically, they said that there was a question of whether Jenner was using due care and caution or was going the right speed for the conditions. I mean, that's about the maximum they could say that Jenner did wrong. And the fact is there was kind of a chain of events that probably didn't proximately cause the death. I mean, that Jenner didn't proximately cause the death. And so then you can't really charge, him with that accident. Of course, it's a higher burden of proof in the criminal case, and a civil case can often follow because it's a lower burden of proof. But, it was a real tragedy. But he was going, or she, was going under the speed limit. I would acknowledge that.
Absolutely. Okay, let's hear some sound from Donald Trump, and we'll talk about him.
Okay.
Chris, go ahead. Thank you for joining us after speaking to your family. What did they say to you about how you were tonight?
Well, they were very proud and very happy, and it was a beautiful time. I had an amazing time. 3 hours is probably a record-setting long debate, but I guess you're selling a lot of commercials during that because they increased it. I guess it was supposed to be 2, but they were very professional the way they handled it. CNN did a very good job.
Well, we agree about that. It seemed like it was well run. There was a lot to talk about. Who do you think came out on top with the best ideas for the American people?
Well, I think everybody really did well. There was nobody that did poorly, and I would think really everybody did very well. I was very impressed.
Anybody more than anybody else?
Well, I don't want to say that. I think certain people did really well. I would never say that, of course.
Carla Fiorina's getting a lot of good buzz coming out of the debate.
Really? Well, I think she's a very nice person. I think everybody did very well, Chris.
Do you feel that you did something differently tonight than you did in the first debate?
No, I think probably the first debate went very well for me also. They both went very well. They're saying very nice things. I mean, I just heard a couple of people come over and say, wow, that was great. So I think, I'm very happy with both performances, actually.
There seemed to have been more discussion amongst the candidates during the breaks and afterwards here in this debate than in the first one.
I think that's true. Well, we're getting to know each other a little bit, even though it's quite tough and sometimes a little bit nasty. We're getting to know each other, and, you develop relationships. I have a lot of respect for a lot of people on the stage.
What have you learned after tonight?
Well, I've learned that I have no trouble standing for 3 hours, and, literally it must be a record. I hope that the audience is okay with it, because I actually think it's a little bit too long. But I learned that we have a lot of talent in the Republican Party, and I think we're going to do very well come Election Day.
When you look to your left and look to your right tonight, did you still feel that you stand above those who else would want the job?
Well, I never say that. I would never say that I do. I think I'll do a great job. I think I'll be the greatest jobs producer that there ever has been in this country. I know exactly what to do. That's what I do. CNN did a poll. I was the number one in terms of leadership, number one in terms of the economy and jobs. And I don't mean number one by a little bit. You know the poll very well, by many times. And I think I would certainly do an unbelievable job of putting the country back to work. And literally, I think people would be extremely happy and extremely proud of our country.
Can you point to anything that you heard tonight where you listened and thought, you know what, I like that idea. I think I'm going to use that?
Well, I think I heard a lot of things, and we'll discuss it on your show at length, because I have a whole family over here.
You have to process. What do you do next? What do you do now?
Well, I'm getting on the plane. We'll go back to New York, and then I'm going up to New Hampshire tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to Iowa. I'm going all over the place. We're having a lot of fun. The polls have been amazing, just amazing. The receptivity has been so incredible. You know, in Dallas, we sold out the Mavericks Arena. We were in Alabama, Mobile, Alabama. We had 31,000 people. The response has been incredible. They like what I'm saying. They agree with what I'm saying.
What does it mean to you have your family in the crowd, your daughter, your sons?
Well, it's great. Here they are. I mean, it's just great to have them, and they seem to be so receptive today. I could see they were giving me the high five and the high sign.
Well, Ivanka must have liked it when you said you should be on the $10 bill.
That's
that was
right.
high
I
praise.
liked it. I mean, she sat for a long time tonight, but we had a great time. Everybody had a good time, and I was very impressed with everybody.
So if tomorrow after the pundits discuss and the polls come out and they say Trump was on top, will you be surprised?
No, I wouldn't be. I think I did very well. I think everybody did well, but I think I did very well.
Gave enough meat on the bones?
I think so, yeah.
Mr. Trump, thank you for talking to us.
See you on the show.
Good luck going forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anderson, there you have it.
Okay, Ann Bremner, Donald Trump seems to be a trendy topic ever since he announced that he's going to run for president, and he is winning a lot of these polls. And what's your opinion as we stand here on October 1st, 2015, with a little over a year to go, with Donald Trump and his chances of becoming the next president?
I think his chances are excellent. I think he's a straight talker. He's a clear thinker. He's funny. He's engaging, and he's not political. So all of those things resonate with people. I'm a Republican. I hate to say that on the air because most people, I think that I'm the only Republican female lawyer in Seattle. But I like him. I like Ben Carson. I like Carly. We have some great candidates. I think he's great.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of downsides. I know there's a lot of criticisms. I acknowledge those. But I think, to answer your question, I think his chances are very good.
So say you, Joseph.
Hey, I'm completely entertained. I thank you for the moment of levity after today. Donald can always make me smile.
Me too.
If I agree or don't agree with him, it's he always. You know what I enjoy about it? I enjoy seeing reporters being comfortable.
Yeah, they love him.
And how they have to. They'll ask the same question, only the phraseology will be completely turned around, and you really have to be quick on your feet. I couldn't do it. I really couldn't. And, I enjoy it. I'm enjoying the presidential run-up now, probably at this point, probably more than I have since I've been of voting age, simply because things are being said that have never been said before. Look, the game's kind of changed, relative to the dynamic is fantastic. That you've got these outsider people,
right,
that are, kind of poking people in the ribs a little bit, and they're not inside the beltway types, and that's just that. It's going to be fantastic to watch. Come down the home stretch. I can't wait. So there'll be a lot of things to giggle about along the way.
Exactly.
And is there somebody that people aren't thinking about, a wild card maybe that might be might be right there when it's all said and done. Is
Hillary
there
Clinton?
dark
I'm
horse?
kidding. I'm kidding.
Well,
man, she's getting just pummeled every day. I don't know. I hope so. I mean, this is America. I mean, we can have people, just come out from nowhere, and I think that's great. Trump was one of them. I think. I think even Ben Carson to a lesser extent, but I think it's wonderful that we can have people come in and run for president that we just didn't see him coming. And then they come out strong and they want to make America great. They want to change the country. They want to, empower people. Amen to that. That's great. I'm sick of politicians, and I think we all are.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And you make some great points with Mr. Trump. He definitely would be changed. It would be different. And do you see any negatives, though, with Donald Trump?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the same things that people have echoed. Maybe he's not presidential enough. Maybe he wouldn't be good with, negotiations with other countries. Maybe he doesn't have enough knowledge. I mean, all those kinds of things. He's such a black and white guy. And he's so funny that some people call him a clown. I mean, we saw some of those surveys. How do you see him? And that was one of the words used. Do you want that person to be president? I mean, those are all the downsides. And then, his whole issues on immigration. I mean, he comes out and says very provocative things. I know people that know him that are in the television industry that, do producers and bookers. They say he's divine. He's on time. He's professional. He's smart. And some of the zaniness we're seeing out there is maybe not the Donald Trump that everybody knows, but that's what he's using to get up in the polls, and it's working. Now, whether he would use that as president, I don't know. But he's obviously been very successful, and he's been able to be successful in business, and I think that he could be successful, as president. That's what he's trying to portray. But sure, there's downsides, a lot of them.
Joseph, so say you.
Yeah, I think the downside with Trump is probably it's kind of an interesting flip side. It is his ego, but I think that's an asset as well as liability for him. Lord have mercy, we've waited a long time, not necessarily for president, but just for somebody to step up to the lectern and actually say what they mean.
Right, yeah.
Floated.
That's a good point.
Focus group, and that's what's kind of refreshing to me. I just want the floor open for discussion. I don't want to have some kind of stale template that it's the same thing that has been rehashed over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
I have no interest in hearing, and as a matter of fact, it disengages me, if anything. I think a lot of people that are within that elite group of politicians that do it day in, day out, they want us to be disengaged. They like it when we're slumbering, but I got to tell you, I got a 14-year-old at home, and he's saying, Dad, when's the next debate? Can we watch it again?
Yeah,
and
they've been fun.
Conversations relative to how the process works, and God help me,
oh,
he's
absolutely,
a couple of times. So, I welcome it. I welcome it. You have to, and there's nothing I can do to change it. And you hope that it doesn't turn into some kind of nasty kind of thing, but it's something that's going to be non-polarizing, that it's going to build people up and give people some hope, man, because Lord knows after today, I think that we need it desperately.
Definitely.
Very well said. Before we get to the plugs, let me give a shout-out to Madeline, Pager, Mary, who called in, Sarah, who made her debut of calling in. Shout-out to all of you. And Ann, let me go to you. Is there anything you want to plug tonight? Website, Twitter, etc.?
No, not really. I mean, you've got my website. It's AnnBremner.com, and my Twitter handle is Ann M. Bremner. I'm always interested in hearing from your fans, and it's been my pleasure to be on with both of you tonight. Thank you.
And are you may be planning on working on a book? And if so, would you take the idea of possibly entertaining a book with Amanda Knox? Since
Sure.
you did work on the case.
Yeah, for 8 years. It would take me forever
Right.
to do it, but it's something I've thought about for sure, and writing about other cases. But yeah, Amanda Knox's case has been fascinating.
Boy,
and I know, you guys probably heard. Yeah, in the last 2 weeks, the Italian court finally came out and said that there was an absolute dearth of evidence. It was a stunning lack of evidence. They came out and said the things that we started saying back in the beginning of this case. And I can remember when I started in the Amanda Knox case, I released the crime scene tapes to NBC. They were like Fellini forensics, I always said. They were just appalling in terms of the police work that was done and the evidence collection. And so at the end of the day, all the criticisms that we lodged about the collection of evidence, and there are only 2 pieces of evidence that they even relied on that were completely discounted, a bra strap and a knife, completely thrown out by independent experts. What we said in the beginning is what the Italian Supreme Court said at the end of the day. So that was gratifying.
And that prosecutor really had an axe to grind against her and Raphael, right?
Well, and he was prosecuted for abuse of office himself and convicted during the trial.
Prosecuted.
Yeah, he was. The prosecutor was prosecuted. Yeah, he was. It was just appalling. But it's
really
over.
Was.
And, it's over, and she's back in Seattle, of course, and trying to rebuild her life. So we're happy about that in Seattle and all over the world.
Do you know how her family's doing?
Well, they've had a tough time. I mean, they spent time where they always had a family member in Italy. They rotate by month, and that went on for years and years and years. And they had all the paparazzi that still come out to Seattle, and it's been very tough on them. But they're really glad to have her home, and they're doing well. They have a lot of support in Seattle. I've never seen the kind of crowd that gathered at SeaTac when Amanda flew home with her family. I mean, this city, right, she's our girl, so, right.
And may I please ask you a question?
Sure.
I guess, I don't know. I'm very curious because the logistics of this just are mind-blowing to me for this family has had to go through this with their child. You mentioned, they were rotating out. I'm just, it boggles my mind. I think first off, how's her family treated in country there? Were the authorities nasty to them? Were the locals nasty, or were they?
I think, and frankly, I don't know, in terms of the locals. I mean, I don't know that they had great treatment or bad treatment. They rented a house there. There were some friendly people at the prison. There were some friendly press, but on balance, very negative up until near the end. They had to change everything in their lives. They were getting flight miles donated from people. We had fundraisers for the family. Wow. She wrote a book that just paid her legal fees. So it was just endless, and they were constantly, being followed by cameras and paparazzi, and she was called a she-devil, and for years, even here in the U.S., people thought Amanda, could be guilty. There's still people that think that, albeit not that many, but kind of the outliers. But that's what they had to endure, and all the television commentary that was against Amanda, but especially in Italy and in the UK, it was overwhelmingly bad for years. Mm. So, but they've been treated very well here, and they've had support, from all over the world, especially in Seattle and the U.S., and they really appreciate that.
And Seattle is known to be a very quiet town, right?
Oh, it's very quiet. We're a nice, quiet town. It's a town where it's nice. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. I mean, like someone like Amanda Knox, she could walk down the street in Seattle and people would leave her alone. I mean, that's the kind of city we are.
No question. And Joseph, the caller, Sarah mentioned your book. Why don't you tell the audience about the book? A couple people I know did buy it.
Yeah, they did.
I'll definitely want to check that out soon.
That's not what I want to plug tonight, but the name of my book is Blood Beneath My Feet, The Journey of a Southern Death Investigator. You can find it on Amazon. It's in Kindle and paperback. And there's other outlets, too, that have it, that it can be ordered through. What I want to plug tonight, what I want to step up to the plate and talk about is my university, where I work. The name of my school is Jacksonville, not Jackson, but Jacksonville State University. It's not in Florida. That's everybody gets it confused.
I thought
located
it was.
on the I-20 corridor in Alabama. We're an hour and 20 minutes due west of downtown Atlanta. We are in the foothills, the beautiful foothills of the Southern Appalachians. Our campus is completely surrounded by beautiful mountains, small mountains. It's referred to as the Gem of the Hills. We've been around since the 1880s. Right now, our university, our football team is number one in the nation in the FCS polls, both of them. We almost beat our school almost on their home field. We have got a dearth of programs. The program that I am part of is called the Center for Applied Forensics at Jacksonville State. And we're a unique blend because we are a university that actually has an on-campus functioning applied forensics lab that we actually service counties. We service 7 counties full-time, and at special requests we got on major crimes to other ones. We are actively engaged with our students. Our forensics program that we have housed within our criminal justice program is dynamic. We had forensics when it wasn't sexy. We started our forensics program back in the early 70s, so we've been doing it for a long time, and all of our people have graduate-level degrees specifically in forensics. So it is a great place, safe town, great town, fun town to send your kids to school. And the school's World Wide Web address is simply jsu.edu. So go Gamecocks, and we'd welcome a visit from you guys anytime.
Hey.
Our lab actually has a Facebook page. It's called the Center for Applied Forensics on Facebook at Jacksonville State. So we're very, very excited about everything that's happening. A lot of cool things happening on campus, and a beautiful place to go to school, safe and friendly. So there, I've said it.
Love it. Excellent.
There we go. All right, shameless plug.
Sound like one proud Southerner.
Right.
I am proud of my school. Oh, and we have the largest marching band in the nation.
Oh, I love that.
We have a big music school, and right now we have a 65 members, and so our band actually marched in the 60th anniversary parade for the coronation of the Queen of England a few years ago. Wow. So we're in Macy's all the time. The name of our band is actually Marching Southerners. It is fantastic. Check it out on YouTube and turn the speakers up. They will blow your hair back.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool stuff.
Thank you so much, Ann Bremner. Appreciate you coming on. Joseph, as usual, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we will speak to you guys soon. So
thanks for having
us. Once again, appreciate it. Okay.
Talk to you
soon, Ann. Talk to you soon, Joseph.
Yeah, you bet. Take care.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, join us next week. Same place, same time, same channel. We'll be on Tuesday for sports, of course. And don't forget, Madeline gets the shout-out. Lynn, let me give her a shout-out. Pager. This is off the top of my head. Debbie. There's just so many of you that I like to give a shout-out to. So let's leave you